That is one reaction to the latest reporting on just how far Clarence Thomas is willing to go in creating an atmosphere of corruption on the Supreme Court, and just how much the Supreme Court refuses to in any way police its members. The latest revelations about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas come from an investigative report in ProPublica revealing Clarence Thomas, quote, has vacationed on Harlan Crow's super yacht around the globe. He flies on Harlan Crow's Bombardier Global 5000 jet. He has gone with Crow to the Bohemian Grove, the exclusive California all-male retreat, and to Crow's sprawling ranch in East Texas. And Thomas typically spends about a week every summer at Crow's private resort in the Adirondacks. We also learned this weekend that Harlan Crow is a collector of Nazi and white supremacist memorabilia. Harlan Crow is a right-wing Republican with a strong interest in cases before the Supreme Court. He denies talking to Clarence Thomas about the cases he is interested in at the Supreme Court. The latest reports come nearly 2 decades after the Los Angeles Times first reported that from 1998 to 2003, Justice Thomas accepted more than $42,000 in gifts, the most of any justice at that time. Justice Thomas's apparent reaction to that report in the Los Angeles Times was to simply refuse to report any more gifts. Clarence Thomas says that he met Harlan Crow roughly 7 years into his tenure on the Supreme Court. The fair inference by any reasonable human being and any reasonable Supreme Court justice would be that Harlan Crow wanted to be friends with Clarence Thomas simply because Clarence Thomas was a Supreme Court justice. That fact should have controlled and limited Justice Thomas's acquaintance with Republican billionaire Harlan Crow, who's a major funder of Republican campaigns. You know that Clarence Thomas knows he's in trouble because he finally has been forced to issue a written statement about this latest report, saying, early in my tenure at the court, I sought guidance from my colleagues and others in the judiciary and was advised that this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not have business before the court was not reportable. I have endeavored to follow that counsel throughout my tenure and have always sought to comply with disclosure guidelines. The Senate Judiciary Committee is not satisfied with Clarence Thomas's written statement. Committee Chairman Senator Richard Durbin called on the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to, quote, investigate Justice Thomas's undisclosed gifts and take action to prevent further misconduct. Joining us now is Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee and the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator, thank you very much for joining us tonight. If you could get Clarence Thomas back before the committee, confirmation-style hearing, what would you have to ask him at this point?
Well, I'd want to do my homework first and do the kind of preliminary investigation that is usually done before there's a hearing on confirmation, and that we ordinarily do before really any hearing. And that's why we've asked Chief Justice Roberts to do what we know he can do, because he did it in the Dobbs leak case, and that is call an investigation. And let's get the facts out on the table as to what has taken place over these years. And I think what all of this will lead towards is that we're going to have to put an end to this business of having these 9 justices be the only people in the entire United States government who are subject to no review of their compliance with the ethics code.
Senator, I know if a United States senator is new on the job and wants to know exactly what are the ethics rules on gifts and what do I have to disclose, you can just open up that rule book, very clearly written Senate rules about exactly what you can accept, what you can't accept, what you must declare on a document, disclosing your gifts through the course of a year. And yet you hear a Supreme Court justice say, well, you know, I just asked around the building. I didn't read anything. I didn't look at any document to guide me on what I can do. And
there actually are committees within the judiciary within the administrative conference that look into these questions. And I'm informed that Supreme Court justices have asked opinions before when they were getting into situations where they thought that there was a question and they wanted to determine it. But just as important as being able to go someplace and ask a question yourself is when somebody else has a concern that you have violated the ethics code, that then somebody neutral is deployed to investigate that allegation and find out what actually took place and come up with a recommendation and findings about what actually took place, rather than have that request just come to you and say, oh, I feel pretty ethical. I don't think I did anything wrong, without anybody neutral or anybody knowledgeable looking into the compliance with the ethics code.
So is it your sense that the Chief Justice has the authority to investigate a situation like this simply because there's nothing written down about what the Chief Justice can or cannot do, and there's nothing written down that says he cannot investigate it?
When the Alito leak took place of the Dobbs opinion, he didn't hesitate to call in an investigation when I think at the time he probably thought that it was some staffer. And they really let loose the dogs. They seized telephones, they went through emails, they took sworn statements, they had affidavits, they brought in investigators, they did all of that, and they never mentioned their fellow justices. And then when everybody noticed, wait a minute, didn't you leave some people out here who also had access to that opinion? They went back and said, oh yeah, well, we had this iterative process with the justices, but no statements, nothing that resembles real investigative behavior. So yes, he can do it. They made a hash out of it last time. They'll have to do it right sooner or later. And if they won't do this themselves, then one of the reasons for our judiciary hearings is to start setting up what a proper investigative method should look like for the court to apply.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you very much for joining us once again tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.